I accepted Christ then and there on my bed. We prayed, and that was it. And I do believe that that was when I actually got saved. And I say that because I instantly had a desire to know more about the Bible stories. Did I know enough to study the Bible like I do today? No. But I started reading my Bible then and really like looking at the stories. And I used to call it the Sunday school teachers, and they'd be, teaching something like, where does it say that in the Bible? I don't see it here. And I was kind of the smart aleck deacon kid, but anyway, so let's
Not
let's
you.
let's fast
No.
forward to the age of 12. Sorry guys, that is a bit of an important piece. But if you've grown up in the church, it just kind of becomes like an assumed piece. Everyone's like, "Oh, he got saved at a young age." Well, anyway, I was 12 years old. We're at the Word Life Family Campground, and life is just cruising along. I'm living my young life of sin, which was, stealing cookies and lying to mama every now and then. I will say this too, by the way. I am for paddling your kids, not abusing them.
Sure.
You should never do it in anger. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was paddled a lot growing up. I got paddled about once a week, and I rarely got paddled for the same thing twice up until I was about 8 or 9 years old. So I like to push the limits. But
Well, on that note, I think that there's a strong line between discipline and punishment.
yes.
And if you're going to discipline somebody, I mean, it's a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people take their anger out on their kids, and I don't think that's right to do
Right.
something because you're angry. If there's merit in it where you want to teach them something and help them, break some habit that they have, sure.
And I've heard, as you guys know, Sam and I are parents, and I've heard other people say, well, it's righteous anger, and it may be very well that your child is committing a sin or doing something that is very much wrong. I mean, obviously, if you're disciplining, they're doing something wrong, and it may even cause you to the point to be righteously angry. But I still think before you act in that, I'm really of the opinion that we as parents, we need to take a step back. We need to breathe, go for a walk, whatever. I mean, if they're doing, like, if they're beating on your other child, obviously you stop them. You're going to get upset. It's your kid hitting your kid. But if you're like really fuming mad, we need to step back and we need to come back and really, as my dad would always say before he paddled me, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. And by the way, if you're not a parent yet, you're not going to understand this. But I totally get it now.
Yeah.
Uh, I hate in any way hurting my daughter. I hate taking her binky away from her, but I have to break her of it, you
Right.
know? Um, Let alone when she's smart, being a smart Alec, and I have to pick her up and spank her bottom a little bit. And then she cries and cries and cries. I hate that, but I get it now. And that's really, we'll just kind of take a sidestep here for a minute before we move on. Um, that's really, for those of you who are parents, you start to understand that's really how God looks at it. God does bring things into our lives and hard things. And as we get into my story, you're going to understand some of the things he let in and some of the things I believe that he's done to get my attention. And
Sure.
uh, I have a hard head and I should listen a little more often.
I think we both probably do. So.
Yeah. Um, but, I really think it hurts him. He doesn't, and by hurt him, I don't mean like, every time we sin, we're crucifying Christ on the cross, not that kind of thing. But he's a loving father. He doesn't want to have to hurt us. He's holding everything wonderful for us. I mean, Ephesians talks about the immeasurable riches that God has for us. And of course, those are spiritual blessings and riches. But truly, he wants to pour those things out on us. And we're humans. We make poor choices and it hurts. And I'm sure there are going to be many times as becoming a parent, as my daughter and hopefully future children grow older, that I'm just going to like, man, I'm sure there are going to be days when it's going to be so overwhelming. I'm just going to feel like I kind of wish they were never here because then I wouldn't have to deal with this pain.
Yeah.
Um, but,
Take the pain out of love, and love doesn't exist.
well, love doesn't mean anything
Right.
at that point in time because, and that really just, that comes back to God. I mean, you think about how many times we mess up, and he keeps taking us back. I mean, there are no bounds. Mercy is a term. I'm going to define mercy and grace here, and this is how I've learned them. Mercy is not getting something you deserve, and grace is getting something that you don't deserve.
Hmm.
So, anyway, let's move back into my story, and you'll understand why that means a lot more to me now. But
Sure.
I was 12 years old, and we're at the Worthy Family Campground, and they do this campfire service every Wednesday night up there. It's kind of, come forward, rededicate your life to Christ, and you know, I did. I went forward, living my life of horrible paddling sin there, and I rededicated my life to Christ, and I was so excited. I remember I insisted my parents had to give me $2 so I could call my grandparents and my aunts and my uncles and tell them what I had just done, even those that weren't Christian. And God was moving in my life then, but there's really, when you grow up in a Christian home, there's this sense of you have your parents' faith. My
Yeah.
parents were excited about it, and I was excited. I mean, I remember I was genuinely excited, but I still didn't know, what did my faith
Right.
mean? What is it to me? It
I
wasn't my
agree. I
own.
agree. I grew up with the same situation,
Yeah.
and I would say the same thing.
I mean, you could have asked me, what does the Bible say about this and that or the other thing, and I could tell you, I could point out a reference to you, but it didn't mean anything. And this is the years following from this point on is where my faith started to become my own and life started to get really real. Yeah. So the next big thing.
Now you're in high school now.
I'm in junior high now.
Okay, you're in junior high now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I guess obviously you were 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you also you attended a public school.
Yes, I was still attending. I was still attending public school. Well, here's how my education started off. I did kindergarten, homeschooled. Then I transferred to a Christian school, which wouldn't accept my mother's homeschooling records. Ridiculous. And so I had to repeat kindergarten with my cousin, and I did first grade at the Christian school. Then I transferred into the public school. And then, like I said, after fourth grade, we'd moved to another school district, and I was in that school until ninth grade when I transferred out to a cyber school. The year after that, I went to a different online cyber school, and that is where I graduated. My graduating class, I think, was 4,000 some people, because it was a statewide school.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and we had 3 different ceremonies, but that's neither here nor there. So, I'm in junior high. I'm still wrestling at this point. My dad is my wrestling coach, and my dad's a really good guy. He wrestled for Penn State. My goal was to become my school's first state champion. My dad was his first district and regionals champion, but he placed very lowly at states. And then my goal was to be the first state champion, and my dad wrestled second string at Penn State. My goal was to wrestle first and to be a national champion as well in the college. Well, big aspirations, coach's kid. I do pretty well. Guess what? I got a big head on my shoulders, and it was very important to me that I appeared strong and manly at this time in my life, and I will get into that here in the next little bit. When I was 14, wrestling, I got tied up with this brand new kid in a match. I mean, green as green could be. He had no idea what he was doing, but he was strong and he was aggressive and he wanted to win. And we got tied up, and I knew whoever was going to hit the mat was going to get hurt. So I tried to control the fall by taking it so that, we wouldn't get that hurt, or, maybe I'd bruise myself or something. Turned out I severely sprained my neck in doing it. He actually knocked me unconscious. And I didn't wrestle until the very end of the season again when that had healed. And at the end of the season, we're off to sectionals. It's junior high, and I go to wrestle the neighboring school's coach's kid. We're in the same weight class, go figure. And our dads were friends, and we were friends. And I go out there, and I shake his hand, and he goes, "Dan, I'll give you a good match. I know you've been out all season. Don't try to beat me." And I was like, sure. I wasn't. I mean, it was good. I mean, I gave it my all, and he went back and forth with me, but he messed up, and I went for it. And I didn't get it. And we got off the boundaries of the map, and he said, "You're done." And he came over, and he pinned me instantly. So, as I said, appearing manly and the macho man, really full of myself at this point in time in my life, I was put down into second string where I could still place third or fourth and go on to regionals or districts. So sorry, it was junior high. And well, I go to my next match, and right before the match, my dad goes, remember, you need to do what Doc said. Doc was my chiropractor at the time. You need to stretch out your neck, make sure your muscles are good so you don't get hurt. You got to understand, the kid I was wrestling, everyone in our weight class knew him. He had one move. It was a headlock, and I kid you not, he would literally back up like 10 feet and then run at you from the other side of the mat to try and get you in it. I mean, it was pathetic. And I'm like, whatever, I don't need to do my stretches. And I didn't. And I went out there, and not 30 seconds into the match, he had me in a headlock in midair. I screamed. And I remember being upside down, and I saw my dad. He had jumped up off the sidelines. He was running out to the mat. And that's the last thing I remember for about 10 minutes. When I woke up, I couldn't feel my right side.
Wow.
And there is no pain like what I felt. Then it was my right side was completely feelingless, and my left side was somewhat numb, but I could still feel it. And there was this literally piercing pain that went through the center of my body, through my nose. I could feel one side of my mouth. I couldn't feel the other. Down through the center. I mean, literally through everything. I could feel, one side of everything and not the other. And you cannot imagine. The only thing I felt like it is when I've pinched a nerve, but it's going through. It's a splitting pain. You don't feel on this side, but then you do on this side. So they kept me there for like 15 minutes. They called an ambulance, but I insisted on getting him walking because I got numb in my right side. It came back, and my left side pretty much normalized. Well, I walked off, and I'm like, I want to go to the chiropractor. So my mom took me to the chiropractor, and my chiropractor goes, I'm not even touching you. You are going for x-rays right now. Which is what my mom figured, but, I was persistent. And so we went to the doctors, and it's actually a bit of debate. The emergency room doctor says that I sprained it. The I forget what an X-ray doctor is called. Radiologist. There we go.
Right,
the radiologist said that I broke it. It was a hairline fracture. It did not crack the vertebrae in my neck, or I don't think that's a technical term for them. I don't remember. It cracked in the center, but it didn't crack to the ends, and it rearranged things so that it had pinched down a couple of nerves. He walked in and said, I don't know how or why you're not dead or in a wheelchair, but you're never going to wrestle again. Well, first of all,
you had to watch it on TV now.
Oh, please, dude. Oh, man.
I'm just joking.
I got to say, everyone, that's not wrestling. It's acting. Those guys are
obviously
steroid pansies.
Anyway. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted your flow.
No, it's okay. So, anyway, well, that's a very humbling experience for me. I was trying to be the man's man and going to be everything, high hopes for me and my school, and all of a sudden, it's all gone. I'm walking around with this soft collar neck brace. Well, actually, I had a normal, like a hard neck brace for about 2 weeks. Maybe it was 3. Then they put me in a soft collar. And then I did physical therapy with my chiropractor and some muscle regeneration techniques and technology therapy he had. And the whole time I'm going through this, and it's like my whole world just turned upside down. I mean, everything turned upside down. And I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, I didn't know what to do. That was my goal, go to Penn State. I'd really actually taken kind of an interest in law. I thought I'd probably take like legal courses, then move on to law school after Penn State. And I'd do like pre-law, and everything was just like, how am I going to get there now? I could never afford to go. The whole point was to write on a scholarship. And yeah. So I'm sitting there going through all of this. And what ended up happening during that time is I started spending a lot of time with my cousin.